What is going on, everyone? Phil here, and welcome to my third and final review of the Halloween trilogy of movies, which started in 2018 and just ended last year with Halloween Ends in 2022. It's been a heck of a ride this month watching all three of these movies. Never had I seen anything of them, never had I watched them before. And finally getting a chance to go through these three and review them for you guys has been a fun ride. And now we're heading into the end of October, and I'm moving on to other things. I'm watching other movies and things. And it's good to have this closure and this kind of final resolution on what I think about this trilogy of movies. Okay? Now, I have to tell you this ahead of time. Once again, yes, I know this is the third movie in the trilogy I'm doing this. I have to spoil the movie. There's absolutely no way I can properly review Halloween Ends unless I spoil major plot points of the movie, because I feel like the major plot points are the things that I need to criticize the most. So if you have not seen this movie, if you're not sure how the trilogy ended, and you don't want to be spoiled, please do not watch this review. However, if you're someone who already knows or you don't care about being spoiled, prepare your butts, okay? So here's the deal. Halloween 2018 was an interesting rebooting of the franchise, completely ignoring anything that had happened after the events of the first movie from the 1970s. It was interesting to see the characters in the modern day and how they all been mentally messed up by that horrible day in the of the killing spree by Michael Myers, and to see the plot line restarted 40 years later. What had happened to the town, what had happened to Laurie Strode and her family, was fascinating. It certainly wasn't the perfect movie, but I actually liked the ending. Halloween Kills, the middle movie of this franchise, literally was the most wasted time movie I've ever seen in my life. It never needed to be made. Not a single moment in that movie needed to be filmed. It was a waste of everyone's time. And if you saw the end of Halloween Kills, you would actually see that basically it made it feel like the entire trilogy of this Halloween movies would all take place on the same night. First, Michael breaks out of the asylum bus and he's on a killing spree. Then he breaks out of the kill house and he's off on a second killing spree. And then it seems like on the third and final movie, Laurie Strode will finally end Michael, because let's face it, at the end of Halloween Kills, she's storming out of the hospital, knife in hand, determined to say she's going to end this and kill Michael. But apparently that's not what they were going for. I'm just very confused. Maybe you are too if you saw this movie. Because didn't it seem like that's what they were going for? That this was supposed to be the third movie. It's the end of the trilogy. It's the end of that night. I mean, at the end of Halloween Kills, Michael Myers goes on a killing spree, killing half of the town of Haddonfield, Illinois, and then killing Laurie Strode's daughter. So you would think, this is it, the big revenge plot, the finale, the end. But that's not what this movie is. So it's confusing at first. I wonder if I thought maybe I'd started watching the wrong movie, honestly. And then I started making parallels to a few other movies. So bear with me here. Halloween Ends opens with a completely different plot line. There is a new character introduced named Corey, who in 2019, the year after the Michael Myers return killing spree, he's babysitting, and during this situation where he's babysitting, he accidentally murders a child. It's not his fault. It's a complete accident. But because of this, now everyone hates his guts. He's now become the outcast of the town. Everyone points at him and says, that's the freak who killed the kid. Even though it wasn't intentional, everyone hates this guy. It's almost like they've turned this kid, Corey, into the new Michael Myers. Like he's the new hated guy in the town. The teenagers around town try to bully him and mess with him. Everyone hates this guy's guts. He's basically the outcast. Even his family is completely dysfunctional, okay? So, what on earth does this have to do with this Halloween trilogy of movies? Well, perhaps you've seen some of these slasher films over the years. There is a classic plot line, and the plot line is thus: because of the trauma caused, because of the psychological damage caused, because of all these things that are happening in some kind of a small town, there's someone else who ends up turning into a serial killer. This has happened in other franchises. I remember they tried this in Friday the 13th, was it? Didn't they even try this once with Halloween back in the day? I mean, I don't remember exactly, but I know I've seen a lot of slasher flicks, and I know this plot has been used before, okay? So essentially the plot of Halloween Ends is Corey is a messed up kid, mistreated by the entire town, and over the course of the movie, he actually starts to have interactions with Laurie Strode's granddaughter. Okay, and I forget her name, Ashley or something like that. I've totally forgotten her name at this point. The granddaughter survived Halloween Kills, and now 4 years later, because it's supposed to be 2022 now, she's trying to get her life back together. You know, she's a medical assistant or nurse or doctor's assistant, and she has a career there, although it's kind of a dead-end career, and she's mad that she's not getting, promotions. And basically, she's an outcast. Everyone sees her, as the granddaughter of Laurie Strode, and Laurie Strode's the reason why the big boogeyman Michael Myers ever came back to Haddonfield to begin with. So she's kind of like the black sheep of the town. So basically, during the movie, her and Corey's paths cross, and they get into a romantic relationship together. They start to date, they start to go out and hang out at bars and parties and things like that, and they're two outcasts who kind of click. Now, I'm not going to spoil all of the events of the movie. There's a lot of messed up stuff that happens over the course of this film, but essentially what ends up happening is by the end of the movie, Corey snaps and loses his mind and wants to become a killer. Like, he wants to become the next Michael Myers. He's had enough of everyone in this town treating him like scum and dirt, and he basically says, enough, I want to burn it all down. Funny enough, the granddaughter of Laurie kind of feels the same way, although I don't think she really wants to get to mass murder, but she also is very upset and has had it with Haddonfield, and she just kind of wants to leave while Corey wants to kill. Now, all along during this movie, there's other plot lines. Laurie Strode's in it. She's had a new life now. She's actually kind of trying to restart her life. She's trying to write like a memoir about the Michael Myers killings and starting her life over again. And there's other subplot lines. Other people who were involved in the trilogy as well are involved. Like the cop who was in the first one, got stabbed by the doctor, is now recovered. And now he's back as a character, basically trying to be like nice to Laurie and maybe even have a romantic relationship with her. So all these subplots are going on during the course of the movie. Now, all the things that I just described, you might say, well, wait a minute. This is Halloween, right? Like, isn't Michael Myers in the movie? Well, that's kind of debatable, honestly, because he is in the movie, but he's actually one of the least seen, least influential characters in the entire film, all right? He's barely even in it. You're led to believe, if you can believe this, and this is obviously ridiculously nonsensical. Apparently, after the 2018 killing spree, when he killed half the town and Laurie Strode's daughter, he went and lived in the sewer system for 4 years. And he's been systematically dragging dead carcasses down into the sewer and feeding off of them slowly for 4 years, and this is where he's been, but he's hurt. He's really damaged from the time when the town beat him up. He's all damaged and disfigured and messed up, and he's not the whole killer he used to be. He's not fully superhuman anymore, which is why, essentially, during the course of the movie, Corey is able to visit him and almost take him on as almost like a mentor. There's a couple times when Corey takes on the role of a killer, and then all of a sudden Michael Myers shows up and also kills at the same time, and you're left to ask in your head, is this real? Like, is Michael Myers actually even in this movie, or is this all in Corey's head? It's actually an interesting plot because you're led to think that maybe Corey's just nuts, and the whole Michael Myers plotline of him living in the sewer is fake. He's not real. He's just a figment of his imagination, and he's slowly absorbing the new Michael Myers persona of the town of Haddonfield, right? And in that regard, I think it actually serves as a really good psychological thriller. In fact, if this movie was a standalone movie, and it wasn't called Halloween Ends, maybe it was called Halloween Resumes, or Halloween Restarts, or Halloween Revisited, I think it actually would have been a better movie, because it really doesn't have many or any ties to the first two movies in the trilogy. It's very odd that they chose this as the final movie and the final plot line. As a standalone movie, I think it's good. The acting is good. There's a lot of creepy scenes. The psychological thriller of seeing Corey turn slowly into like a deranged killer is fascinating to me. I actually enjoyed that. My problem is, it's not Halloween Restarts or Halloween Rejuvenated. It's Halloween Ends. So how does it end? I have to spoil the ending to let you guys know because it's so atrociously bad. Are you ready? At the end of the movie, Corey goes full-on serial killer, steals Michael Myers' mask from him in the sewers, and goes on a killing spree. He ends up killing tons of people in the town who he doesn't like, who've wronged him or wronged the granddaughter of Laurie Strode. Then in the big finale scene, all right, it's him versus Laurie. He goes after actual Laurie Strode. and Laurie fakes a suicide attempt to lure him to the house. He gets to the house, and then, it was a trick. She was actually trying to lure him there all along to stop him because she knew that he was apparently going to become a psycho or something like that. And they have a showdown and all of this. And, during the showdown, there's all this chaos and stuff going on. And eventually they stop him. Okay, great, so that should be the end of the movie. No, then Michael Myers shows up. What? Why? How? Huh? It doesn't make any sense. He literally is a non-entity for the movie. You think maybe the whole thing's fake. Maybe he never was in the sewers and it was a figment of Corey's imagination. Oh no, he was real the whole movie. The very few scenes he was in, he was actually real. And now he chooses the time to show up and try to fight Laurie. So what ends up happening is, it's Laurie and her granddaughter against Michael, and of course, they win in a very gory ending. They basically chop him up, they slit his throat, they slit his wrist, they slit the fuck out of him. He's bleeding everywhere. He's got to be dead, right? So that should be the end of the movie. They stopped Corey. He's dead. They murdered him in his tracks when he was trying to kill Laurie. And then they kill Michael Myers as well. So great. It's all over, right? Well, that's not enough. Because remember, Michael's tortured this town forever. And so they put Michael Myers' supposedly dead body. They tie it to the top of the car. All the cops show up, and the cops are okay with this. They drive Michael to a car lot, and they crush his body in a compactor to make sure he can never come back. And that's the end of the movie, basically. It's over, he's super dead, and everyone can move on with their lives. And that's the end of Halloween Ends. And it's like, this is so weird. Because if this movie were not Halloween Ends, I would really like the movie. If it didn't have Michael Myers in it, and the whole idea was there was someone new to become the new Michael Myers and to see how the sickness had infected Haddonfield and could make someone new become mistreated and the misfit that then goes psycho and tries to kill people and becomes the new Michael, I think it would have been a great movie. The problem is, it's called Halloween Ends, and they had to wedge in the end of a trilogy that this movie really doesn't seem to have relation to. They just wanted to make this the last movie of the trilogy, even though it seemed like it should have been a fourth movie. The fact that Michael just kind of shows up at the end and says, "Hi, I'm here, let's now fight," is weird as shit. Again, the fact that somehow we're led to believe he lived in the sewers for 4 years, eating what? Rats and random people who he killed and dragged in there and no one knew. It makes absolutely no sense, and it's a pathetic plot line, okay? It's weird because 85% of the movie is highly entertaining and a great thriller, and 15% of the movie, anything involving Michael Myers, is a laughable joke and super bad. So what happened here? I almost feel like they wrote a trilogy of movies, and it was supposed to be all three movies took place on the same night, and it would all have ended, and somehow along the lines, it got scrapped. Maybe because Halloween Kills didn't do well at the box office, or because people hated the plot of it, they decided to change it on the fly. I have absolutely no idea. But I think it should have been 3 movies on that night, seeing the end of Michael Myers, and then the 4th movie should have been the story of Corey, and the whole guessing game through the whole movie is Michael real or not? Did he really die, or is he living in the sewer? At the end of the movie, you find out he was never real. It was all in Corey's mind, but luckily they stopped the new killer. That would have been a much better movie and a much better ending. But they fucked it up by making it the end of the trilogy and having Michael actually in it. Let me put it this way. It's much better than Halloween Kills. It's actually a good standalone movie if you don't care about it resolving the plot. But as a resolution to the trilogy, it's an atrociously bad movie. I can understand why so many people, when I watched Halloween Kills, said, "You're going to hate Halloween Ends." Well, in truth, I don't hate Halloween Ends. I don't feel it's a bad movie. I feel it's a bad ending to what they were trying to do with this trilogy. But as a standalone movie, if Michael wasn't real, it would have been good. But they fucked it all up. I don't know what they were thinking with this. It almost seems like, remember the Star Wars reboots? The first movie seemed like it was going somewhere. All of a sudden, the second movie rushes plots, ends entire characters and plot lines willy-nilly. Like, what happened here? And then the third movie is like a big clustered mess, and it just sucks and no one likes it. That's kind of what it feels like happened with this trilogy too. They had an original idea, but somehow, at some point, they weren't able to make that idea go to culmination, and they had to change things on the fly, and it was pretty frustrating. And I will say this, I would say the acting in this is good, the writing in it is pretty good. There's still some issues with lighting. Certain scenes are just way too dark for absolutely no reason. Just like the other Halloween movies, why is there a scene where all of a sudden it gets super dark for no reason? It's very hard to see everything. Stupid. But overall, I did enjoy it more than Halloween Kills. I would say, again, if it didn't have the Michael Myers stuff in it, it probably would have been as good as the Halloween 2018 movie. Overall, what did I think about the trilogy? It's not terrible. It's not. A lot of people say, oh, this is what ruined Halloween, and this is why now they're shopping the rights around for Halloween to another company to make more movies. I don't think this is an atrociously bad trilogy, and certainly it was a way to get people interested in Michael Myers' the character again after him being redone and ruined with all those insane amount of horrible sequels, fighting Busta Rhymes hand to hand and shit. I mean, come on. But at the same time, it definitely wasn't what it should have been. They really went off the rails. They lost the plot at some point. There's literally a middle movie that never should have been made and has no enjoyable scenes besides maybe one gory kill. It's just a big convoluted mess. Again, much like the recent Star Wars trilogy, it feels like they screwed it up. I don't know what happened here. I don't really know what the story is behind the scenes or if it'll ever be revealed what really happened, but it's a sad fact that this should have been a trilogy of movies all on one night, and then the plot of this movie should have been its own standalone, and it would have been much better. I would have loved it, and instead, they fucked it all up. So Halloween ends. I'm glad this trilogy is over, quite frankly. I would never like... I'll be honest. Let's get Laurie Strode out of here. If they do bring back Halloween, let's have it be something different. You could always have another killer, or even Michael Myers. Just do a different plot. Enough with the Laurie Strode plotline and rebooting it for the millionth time. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is getting up there in age. I'm pretty sure she's done with this shit. Let's get something different going at this point. And, overall, I do still like the Halloween movies in general. It's sad that the trilogy didn't go very well, in my opinion. But at the same time, I have hope that maybe sometime they'll reinvent this series and it'll be better. But this trilogy was not it. Man, the second movie sucked and the third movie lost its way. Can't really strongly recommend it. But if you take this movie on its own face value and you watch it as a psychological thriller, I think it's a better movie. All right, folks, that is it for my review of the Halloween trilogy and Halloween Ends in particular. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, by all means, now that the whole plot is revealed, leave comments on this video and let me know what you thought about not only the movie series in general, but also what you thought about my reviewing of the trilogy. All right, guys, thank you so very much for your time and for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and here's to more reviews in the future. Thanks for watching. See you then.